Uh, Hello everyone, I have a mic now, so you can hear me. So unfortunately your time is up, so just wrap up the discussion and we will have a presentation from our facilitators on what we managed to do. So yeah, Mirta, you can start. Here is the mic.
All right, so this table was about European Green Deal and other environmental policies and how it can affect green jobs and employment. And some of the obstacles or the current situation we discussed about was how usually there is no specific funding for green jobs. We have more horizontal policies and funding around employment or around sustainability. This is also linked with the fact that there is no clear or universal definition of what a green job is. Well, no, it's true. Well, it's the same people going at us. And yeah, specifically for that, there are some ideas or thoughts around green jobs. For example, in Norway, they have consultation with employers to have a more clear definition, or at the level of education, maybe it's more clear because there are specific standards and goals. For companies, there are certifications that can prove if they are sustainable or not, but these can very easily lead to greenwashing. And we also have maybe an opportunity or also a threat with the EU taxonomy, which can clearly define what is sustainable or not, but also something bad can slip in that as well. So then moving on, specifically some discussions around regions and islands around this is that it's difficult to be competitive for small islands and regions in calls because most of the funding moves into, they want bigger impact, so we're talking about bigger budgets or industries. There is also, especially around the European Green Deal and policies in general, there is a lack of understanding and awareness, so there is a lot of friction when these are going to be implemented. Another issue that affects a lot our islands and when it comes to the green transition is that there is not enough customization of our policies, and it's top-down and it applies horizontally, and this leads in the reality to disparities among the regions. Finally, this is what we knew before as well, but there is clearly a mismatch of demand and supply of jobs, and there is a huge demand of green jobs at the moment that cannot be met. So we need to work on a step before on outdated curricula, on how people decide what they move on to study, for example. Some of the opportunities, there is indeed a lot of funding going into the green sector at the moment. We just need to be able to direct it more to help with green jobs. Some networks that help with employment as well. Digitalization was also an opportunity for green jobs, although there was a bit of a debate whether or not it is included. It is compatible, let's say better. Touristic islands have big opportunities for circular economy and in general for piloting technologies and policies that can help the local population find sustainable employment if they are ready to do that. But we need to have more specific calls for the islands, and we need to have more localized and regional authority to decide on the policies and targets for these regions. There are opportunities for companies as well to change their operations if they want to and if they don't stop the change. We need the EU taxonomy, as we said, can be an opportunity as well as communication and awareness that go together. And finally, there is opportunity to start and create some structures to help meet the demands and decentralize some of the administration to have this agility to move along with the times. To that's all.
Okay, so let's see the. Can you hear me? Yeah. The output of the energy transition in islands table, focusing on three aspects: the socioeconomic aspects, the resilience to climate change, and also the green jobs. So both talking about local jobs and also the concept of upskilling or reskilling those older generations that have to keep up with the transition. We have divided the concept in challenges and barriers, but as you will see, challenges are also solutions. So first point that we found was connected to the socioeconomic aspects and to the motto of the European Union, that is, no one's left behind. So we have to involve and engage the whole community, the whole island community, along the whole energy transition. And one of the ways to do it is also one of them, raising awareness and understanding. But this cannot come just from the outside, so a top-down approach. But one of the new concepts, very dear to Brigitta, was to connect older and younger generations. So to have to increase this sort of sense of community and also create this connection between younger and older generations that are always more far apart. And this would also help not to lose the tradition and culture of the island. So from the social aspect, it's very important. This is also connected to the barrier of tackling energy poverty. So no one's left behind. We have to think that this transition has a cost for everyone. We have to help especially the poorer. About the resilience to climate change, one of the most important concepts is the one of water. And the challenge and solution that can be proposed is to have a smart water, both supply and system operation and management network. And this is connected to the barrier that the water system, the water networks are very old, with leakages that go up to 60% and I'm sure also over. And this is also connected to the lack of knowledge on water efficient use. Both at, let's say, normal people level, but also the technical people that are working and managing the system. And I also want to underline the word smart, that is connected also to the use of digital tools, so like sensor to monitor leakages and improve them as fast as possible. Another concept challenge connected to resilience, we wanted to put a bullet point for all the extreme events that are connected to climate change. So, for instance, heat waves, droughts, extreme rain, rising sea level, and all. So the approach that we can propose is that of risk assessment first. So we need to know what is going to happen, what we are facing, and then we have to plan a disaster risk reduction plan. This concept takes into consideration both prevention and reaction. So we need to prevent it from happening, but when and if it will happen, we need to know how to react immediately. We cannot work in an emergency without knowing what to do immediately before. And another concept, challenge that we saw is that of the systemic approach. Everything is linked, so this covers all of the areas and more. We need to know that everything is linked, that we cannot proceed with the energy transition without thinking about the environment, without thinking about the food chain and the water also that we said before. So this can also be explained in what is called the water and environment and food energy nexus. So it's all connected. Our projects and our ideas need to have a holistic approach. What we also thought about is that all of this, the energy transition will create jobs. But we want to make sure that these jobs are for local people. So the job opportunities need to be for local people. But this is linked to a big barrier, that is the lack of specialized professionals. So islands are small places. This is especially true for maybe smaller islands. So we have to make sure that for them to get the jobs, they have to be properly trained. the locals have to be properly trained, so this is specialized training. Then we have a couple of points that are both a barrier and a challenge. The circular economy, very important, but what came out from the discussion is that it can be also a barrier because it's hard to have a closed loop because they are closed environments, so many times we don't have all the resources and all the materials in the island. But it's still a challenge and also solution to it. And the other point that is both a barrier and a challenge is the funding. To do all of this, we need a lot of money, we know that. And the barrier is the lack of money. The challenge is to find the right funding. Another topic that came out that was a very interesting discussion because we're lucky to have both sides of the coin. So at first it came out that one of the challenge was to educate the policymakers. But then with the discussion growing, we saw that maybe it's not just a problem of policymakers. Policymakers live in our society, they are like us, so they know what is the problem, what are the challenges. They need to be educated as much as us, so they will be within the raising awareness. So maybe the problem was to make them feel responsible to actually respect the promises they do during their campaign. This was another concept. And continue going on, and what we came out also in the end is that we have to understand that we need a systemic transition. Again, the systemic word is very important. It's not just an energy transition. There will be other priorities like the healthcare system, the education, and the welfare in general. The energy is very important, but there are other priorities that we cannot left behind. So we need to think about the systemic transition and the just transition that brings everything forward all together. Another concept that was somehow connected to all of this started from the identification of the barrier. So we all, let's say the majority of us, agree there is climate change. We want to solve it. We want to embrace this energy transition, but no one wants it in their backyard, the NIMBY effect. How to solve that? What is the challenge and how to solve it? We thought that, with the discussion, came out that local communities need to feel a sense of ownership of what they're doing, what we are installing. So we cannot leave everything to big corporations. And there are two different maybe solutions that were proposed. For smaller projects, the concept of energy communities can be a good solution. While for bigger projects that we will need, we will not solve the whole energy transition with photovoltaic, rooftops of photovoltaics. For bigger projects, what we thought is that we don't want to leave all the revenues to big corporations. So the challenge is to invite them, not force them, but let's say, to share their revenues with locals. And this can be done through different methods. One of these is to have social contracts. And these social contracts that force them to leave a certain percentage of the revenue to the citizen or the municipality, that is easier probably. This can also be done during tenders. So one of the criteria to choose, to select the best project is also the number of percentage of revenue that they will provide to the community, to a lot of municipalities. And this led also to the concept of using the CSR, so the corporation social responsibility. So this is a type of management that forces the corporations to invest some of their revenues into the society. So this can be part of the smart contracts that can be extended also to a broader concept of investment into society. And then the last and best idea was the one that was already said by Mirtos. I will just say it very, very fast. So we thought that there could be specific incentives like subsidies of tax reduction specifically for green jobs. So not just for young people or other kind of groups, but for all of the groups, but for green jobs. So this could help both younger generations, but also older generation for reskilling and upskilling to do their job in a green way. But to do this, we have to first overcome the barrier that is the lack of an official and international definition of green jobs, of course. Thank you.
I really like your idea with this social tendering or contracts, but maybe this then part of the funds that are going to the society can be invested in new jobs, in scholarships, etc. So this is maybe important to point out that if we are going to build these big projects, that part should be reinvested to train the new green jobs or put the scholarship for the new, as we said, researchers that will then continue to work. So I think this is
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, this percentage of revenue that could go to communities or the municipality where the plant is installed, they don't have to be just for other energy projects. As we said, we need a systemic approach, a systemic transition. So all these funds could be redirected to any other kind of project or programs, social programs. Any local needs, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
For sustainable tourism, we tried to design a roadmap in order to gain sustainable tourism on islands, and the discussion was divided in 3 parts. The first part was the negative impacts. The second part was based on to record the challenges and opportunities, and the third part was to discuss on proposals on what we need to do in the future. So the negative impact was based on social, economic, and environmental aspects, taking under consideration the social negative impacts of tourism in islands. The first record was on the pressure that local communities take, especially when we have the phenomenon of over-tourism. And of course, the seasonal working opportunities is something like that YENESIS project has recorded too strong. And in general, they're not good working conditions. The environmental issues of the noise and the bad atmospheric conditions, and the not resilient and client-delivered system for local producers as well. As far as the economic negative impacts, we refer to the local funds for infrastructure, for big infrastructures related to energy and water demand, that it's difficult for local authorities to implement because they need to spend a lot of money for big infrastructures that are not used during winter time. And continuing to environmental negative impact, we have, of course, the waste production and the water and energy overconsumption. All this is related to the negative produce of environmental footprint, that, of course, it's something that we don't want. And there was a record on old and not renovated buildings, especially on the accommodation services. Moving to challenges and opportunities, we have this opportunity of designing an offer or an alternative tourism products in order to attract more travelers to our islands that respect, of course, the local environment, but also the local communities and, of course, the local cultural heritage. Then we have this opportunity that we're going to discuss more in the need to do section that has to do to develop a circular tourism condition. And then we talked on special interest tourism offer or tourism of incentives that is focused more on cultural heritage, on tourism that has to do with the health condition, and offer of conference tourism, for example, in order to offer an all year long secured working conditions, not only for the local people, but of course for the people that coming to an island to work during summertime, to keep them all year long, offering them secured working conditions in the sector. Then we talked about the combination of activities offered to a place. Norwegian people help us a lot to describe an offer that is complementary with activities in order to keep visitors more in a place than just jumping to a place to another, reducing in this traveling way our footprint of moving all the time, and of course contributing to the diversification of the tourist product. Then we have this challenge of the digital nomads, especially after the COVID situation. And one main issue, how we can incorporate this digital nomad phenomenon, let's say, to incorporate into the local tourism offer, but taking under consideration that we have to create conditions for them that the local communities will benefit. Because if we don't do that, we have, for example, main negative condition is the high rental prices of home. That is something that we face also now with the Airbnb offer. So we have to make a new plan of local offering, not for Airbnb condition, but also for the digital nomads. And the last thing that we record as a challenge and opportunity section is to develop a system in order to record social happiness, not only for local communities, but also for visitors, is a very specific aspect of sustainable tourism that we don't want to neglect. And continuing, the focus on what need to do. First of all, we have to promote circular economy skills in production and consumption of food, in multimodal mobility, and also to promote local products to restaurants and hotels. Some proposals. Also, we have to exploit the smart solutions in our mobile applications, giving incentives to use sustainable tourism services. One big discussion was on the way how we can make all kind of procurement more green, and how we can incorporate environmental aspect of production in prices. And this has to do not only with organic farming, of course, but in general how we protect the environment. The issue of raising awareness to visitors, of course, is something that is very crucial about the special and vulnerable environmental conditions of the islands. We propose to plan more sustainable infrastructures, facilitating sustainable tourism, like green hotels. And big issue that we have to refer is that we have to use more criteria and indicators in order to facilitate sustainable tourism, like organizing environmentally friendly services and products. And in this way, we have to give more incentives to providers in order to gain certification, and training them how to build a new business model to gain this certification. And if there are some providers that are already, let's say, green, how to make, for example, a platform in order to exchange knowledge and practices to other providers that want to make their services more green. One other issue is the way of marketing plans for niche market that has to do with special target groups, is another big point that can be promoted through sustainable tourism. And we talked about the model of all-inclusive is a kind of model that we all know. And this is the model that contributes more to the waste production and the loss of natural resources and food. And this is a bad habit, and we finally proposed something that is a little bit, okay, it sounds scary, but if you think in another way, it's not so scary, to develop an application that can record the consumption habits that affect negatively the environment, but given the same time the incentives to avoid all these, let's say, bad habits that have to do with environmental waste. Thank you.
So during our work cafe, we got to discuss about entrepreneurship and innovation and how they can be used as tools to provide green jobs in islands. So we kind of tried to approach this by identifying challenges and opportunities that also kind of work as solutions. And basically one of the most common things that came up is that there is this lack of knowledge when it comes to entrepreneurship in rural areas, or there is this knowledge of business but not the educational part. So these two kind of need to come together to provide a good stepping stone for someone to create something viable. There are also limited opportunities in Green Islands when it comes to creating something new. The size also doesn't really help. You have a big competition, and it was also identified that usually all choose to do something in the tourism sector. So this also was identified as an opportunity later on, because if you choose to do anything else, then it means you don't have a lot of competition. It's going to be a good opportunity for you to actually succeed. One of the other challenges that came up is that usually in recruited areas such as islands or rural areas, it was identified that the quality of education sometimes is lower, something that doesn't really help someone that wants to develop something new there. Access to funding opportunities was also either limited or not knowledge of how you can find this funding to create something new. And it was discussed that maybe a good solution would be to have one-stop shop for funding opportunities, something like the one thing you presented yesterday. Something that you have easy access to all the information, someone that will reply to you quickly and clearly, and it will help you take all the right steps from there to develop something good and useful. It was also discussed that maybe sometimes there's not a clear definition of innovation entrepreneurship. We hear a lot of definitions, so as long as we don't really have something concrete and clear, people will translate it as they wish. So we need to have this good starting point with the definitions. The crisis that we kind of had back to back quite recently didn't really help young people to proceed with their ideas. Like I talked with many of the partners of when they were discussing their needs, did they have an idea that it made them stop? And many of the answers were, yeah, they were ready to begin, but then COVID happened, so they had to stop everything. And now there is this fear of failure if you begin, of how is this going to succeed. So the fear of failure is also something that came up pretty often, and one of the solutions is that we need to have like some sort of safety net for young entrepreneurs, that even if they fail, the loss won't be too big, and it's not going to prevent them from creating something new at a later stage. What else? There is not enough infrastructure in islands. Usually if you're recruited, the access to fast Wi-Fi or anything else is not there, so it's something that is going to prevent you to either be a digital nomad and go somewhere and just work in your startup, or it's, even if you want to build something new, it's not really gonna help. But it was also discussed that, again, good case study from Norway. In an island, this company went there, created these wind turbines, had to bring fiber internet into the community, into the island, so everyone benefited from that. You need one company that has the capital that's going to take the step to go, and if you have the infrastructure, then more young people take the leap, go there and create something new. It also came up that many people have the wrong motivation, and that's also a challenge. Usually the motivation is I want to be my own boss, and that's not a reason to start something new. And it was also, it also came up that not everyone is born to be an entrepreneur. I know it's not something that needs to be in the front center, but yeah, many people take the wrong motivations and don't have the proper stepping stones and foundations to create something new. And another important point was that sometimes stakeholders don't come together and they don't communicate with each other. So when many funding opportunities come forward and when many calls open up, they don't discuss with each other, so there is a lack of common policies and strategies when it comes to helping young entrepreneurs. Yeah, the solutions were mainly focused on creating easier access to young entrepreneurs to funding opportunities, making it more easy and quick for them to gather all the information. The islands were also a good testing ground, so you can go to an island, create your company, and from there, the scale opportunities are bigger because you can test it in a smaller population, you can test it in a smaller scale, and from there you can build up. Yeah. So that was discussed.
Thank you, Kyriaki. Do we have any questions? Maybe from the audience. If not, it's time for coffee break. I think that we all need some refreshments now, yeah? The coffee is across the hall. So once again, hello to everyone, and we're going to start with our last session today. We will talk first a bit about the YENESIS journey, where you will hear some stories about the things that we did on the project. And after that, we're going to talk about the next steps and the future of the YENESIS as a continuation of the existing one as YENESIS 2.0. So firstly, I would like to invite Arne Hakonsadnes from Mur and Romsdal County Municipality to join us for the presentation of showcasing experience that the Nets and partners had on in Norway. Arne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicola. I will present for you some of the experiences we had with in the showcasing events in Norway. I will talk a little bit about the methodology and how we have done it and why. I am representing the Møre og Romsdal County Council and the Department of Competence and Business Development. And as the expertise partner in the YENESIS project, we are responsible to deliver on state-of-the-art techniques and knowledge and best practices in the fields of youth employment and sustainable business concepts relevant for green jobs. our preferred method to do so has been through the showcasing events, both for transferring this to the needs and to the partners. We have organized altogether 4 3-day showcasing events, addressing the 4 chosen thematics for the YENESIS project: the mobility, renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable tourism. In addition to this, business innovation and entrepreneurship has been an important part of the showcasing events. We have this build-up. The whole event is 3-day, full work days, with the aim of empowerment of the needs and to transfer skills, knowledge, and good practices to bring back home. It is divided in 2 major parts. The first one is a 2-day study visit related to the relevant topic. It's based on on-site visits and first-hand knowledge, exploration, interactive learning, inspiration and ideas to bring back home, and within this, reflection sessions prepared by incubators. And to as an end workshop, we have used innovation labs and design thinking methodology to put the learning into practice. I will come back to this some later in the presentation. We have been visiting several locations. It has been the locations are chosen among a variety of locations within the Norwegian fjord landscape. We want the participants to experience remote areas mixed with small cities and communities. Norway has a lot of islands, so we know quite a deal about the island societies and how to make sustainable development. And we have also have a lot of tourist destinations which are facing a lot of the similar challenges as the needs regions. We have lack of higher education, no institutions. We have seasonal occupation. We have the challenge with young people moving out for education and employment. And among these, we have handpicked examples and good practices on how to address and deal with these challenges. An important part of the events has, of course, been lectures and discussions about relevant topics. This has been important to get state-of-the-art knowledge and to make good discussions about the relevant topics and challenges together with our local stakeholders. We have been, as I said, a lot of study visiting. We have visited a lot of sites to gain insight and motivation. In this way, we have been able to get like first-hand insight from a variety of sustainable business concepts. The idea is to explore through activity and on-site visits. in this way, the NEEDS has got inspiration and ideas to bring back home. And I will say that the engagement that the NEEDS have shown during these events has given us a lot of good feedback on that this is a good way of doing things, and shown that learning and having fun at the same time may be a good way of doing it. Before my presentation, there was some yoga music here, and we have also tried yoga at Merede's garden at the top right. She is an entrepreneur, started her own business, rebuilt and refurnished an old greenhouse into a place to provide yoga and mindfulness services. And we were happy to explore this. Another important thing is, of course, we have been able to meet the local entrepreneurs, stakeholders, and professional guides. This has been important to get this hands-on information from people working in the field who have dealt with this problem and find their solution to deal with issues of employment, entrepreneurship, sustainable business development. And they have shared their expertise on how to develop their concepts of green businesses in these rural areas. And this has been an inspiration for the participants and the needs to grow their own ideas, which they may be able to implement in their home regions. Social activities and networking, it's really important to get connected. I will really stress this part. Bonding, it's very important to have good bonding to maximize the output from the events. The idea has been to learn together, explore together, and be creative together. And these groups all of the groups has been like a mix of professions and competencies and nationalities, and they have been able to gain extra value from the events by working together. And in many cases, we can refer to this as a case of experts in team. And the participants has gained international context within their field of expertise. This might be a door opener for international cooperation in the future, and it adds extra value for the participants, the individuals, and also for potential future employers and even the home regions. Then I will give you some short glimpse of what we have been exploring during the 4 showcasing events. This is the mobility one, in which we did explore and learn about different zero and low emissions emission modes of transportation, and we did this mixed with concepts of sustainable tourism. The next one was the showcase about renewable energy. It was mainly based on on-site visits to gain knowledge of different types of renewable energy production and use. For instance, on the top right, we did explore a wind farm on the top of a mountain during winter time, driving electric cars. The third one was the energy efficiency one. It was based on on-site visit, and we did explore concepts of energy efficiency, energy production, transmission, and use. For instance, at the bottom right, we did visit the Statnett and learn about how they do plan and maintain the national electricity grid by using drones. And we also visited Hydro Aluminium, which is the largest and most energy efficient aluminium plant in Europe. So this shows the variety from Merette's garden to these big international companies. The last one, final one, was the one about sustainable tourism. In this showcase, we explored and did get a lot of inspiration from sustainable tourism concepts and how they make their business as environmental friendly in a wider perspective, and how they utilize this local advantages and raw materials. And then the final part of all the showcasing events, the workshops. This has truly been one of the main cores of the showcases. To fulfill this part, we have used our professional incubators, which are supported by the county council, to facilitate these end workshops. The participants and the needs has during this these workshops been given insight into state-of-the-art tools and techniques in which they can bring back home to use, either if they want to start their own business or they want to, or they can use it as a tool to make their workplace or company more in a more greener direction. They have done a lot of creative and exercises to create and evolve ideas with inspiration from the earlier site visits and so on. And all this has been done in the framework of design thinking. As a closing, this just some pictures from the workshops. The workshops was I will say they were the needs were using this opportunity to grow their ideas and to summarize and to sum up the events and make this something easier to bring back home. As a closing remark, I will say that for me and my colleagues, this was a truly inspiring experiences to meet and work and follow these needs during these 4 events has been really inspiring. And I will end this with a quote from one of our stakeholders. This is just one among a lot of positive feedback from our stakeholders, and we have only got positive feedbacks. Thank you.
Do we have questions?
If we don't have any questions for Arne, I would like to thank him for a really nice presentation. It was really wonderful for me to hear all about these showcasings, and I'm really sorry that I didn't manage to be on any of those, but they look really wonderful on the presentation, and the smiles on all the pictures from the NEETs also look really, really nice, so I think that they really enjoyed it. Also from the Croatian perspective, all the NEETs were super, super happy and super satisfied with everything they saw in Norway. And they said that if there is any other opportunity to bring them back there, they are first in line, you know, to sign up for it. So Arne, congrats on the great experience. Okay, to continue, I would like to now invite one of our NEETs, who started his own company during the project. You met him during the showcasing, some of you, some through apprenticeships, and some maybe on the event in Cyprus. So his name is Matija Sučić. He started the company with his colleague, and the company is called M2S Energo. So Matija, the floor is yours.
Hi to everyone. Before we starting this presentation, I want to explain the name of our company. Me and my colleague Matej opened together this company, and we have the same first letter of name. He's Matej, I'm Matija, and our surname also have the same first letter. I'm Sučić, he's Stipeljković. And if you see the logo have a very similarity formula with Einstein formula for energy, if you see this. And that is something what is really like similarity, and we also produce the energy. Our company is company for designing and installing, means mounting photovoltaic on the roof. Let's start with the presentation. Here you can see the picture from Zagreb for our first workshop or lecture in Zagreb. Here you can see the Goran to explain something. And on this lecture we learn how we can do our business model. First, our business model. Here you can see our first business model. I will not going deeply in this business model, but I want to say this business model will help us to see where we are in market and how we can develop our company. That helped us, and after that we decide to open our company. After this lecture in Zagreb, we decide to open this company because we see that we have space in the market, and the numbers show us that we have the space. And also after that we decide to take money from country for new company. The government has some measure. This is the name of measure that's on Croatia, od mjere do karijere. And after that we took money from government, Croatia government, and that's about 10,000 euro for the beginning, for the new company. After that we took money from local government, from local country, 5,000 euro, and that's enough money just to open company. And also what is really cool thing that we open company just online. We don't go anywhere. We open company like in 3 hours. We just fill it some questionnaire on internet online, and after that we just going and bank to open our account. And in 3 hours we opened our company. That was really cool things. What is our strategy of our company? On the beginning we used cheaper marketing tools like Facebook and Google. also they need to be optimized, and we also paid some company to do for us in the beginning. Also, we do smart marketing, and what that means, during the summer, don't spend your money on Facebook and Google, because everyone occupied with tourism, you know, and nobody watched the searching someone who will put photovoltaic on roof in that period. Also, we're doing outsourcing of manual work and accounting at the beginning, but now we have 4 more new employees in our company. We started with the first one, that was me. After 6 months, my colleague Mate joined us, and now we have 5 new employees in our company. What is our personal experience? Technical knowledge is not only what you need when you want to open company. Also, a law and economics knowledge is already really important to develop company. We have also we have a lot of patient work with the people. You must be good psychologist when you work with the people. We use a lot of time to invest in obligation, to organize of obligation, and we have to constantly communication with our worker and our people and people who will work and accept their own ideas, because if you don't accept their ideas, we will not growing up on the market. Yes, that's and do a lot of compromise. Everyone have our idea, but you know, sometimes your idea is not the best idea, and that's something what you must accept. Here you can see the first our project. On the first picture, you can see me with one of professor who is like the, how we say, the father of the sun in Croatia. He developed the first project on their house in Croatia. Yes, solar project, photovoltaic on his own roof. He'll help me really much with the technical issue when we open company on technical procedure, how it's going in Croatia. Also here is the Goran who also helped me, and Nikola, like as Deva Center, help us really much. On the second picture you can see our first project on island, Chiovo. And the third picture you can see me and Mate posing. And after that, I want to show you some video how we mounting first our. Can you help me? Thank you. Da li će biti zvuka? To je problem. Zvukić. A treba se reći. And on the end, we have some cooperation also with Faculty of Mechanical Engineering in Zagreb, with this Deva Center. And conclusion, solar energy has a lot, the future's in the green jobs, and also one on the end, you can also be entrepreneur. Thank you for attention. If someone have a question, I'm here to answer. Okay, no problem.
You mentioned the professor. When was the first photovoltaic plant was installed in Croatia? Do you know? Maybe?
On his roof.
Yes, when?
I'm not sure which year. I'm not sure.
Okay.
2000.
2000, I think it's 2007 actually.
I don't know for sure.
I'm not sure, but it's before, yeah.
Okay.
I know, but sometimes that period, 2004, 2007, something in between that.
What is your background?
Mechanical engineer. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Matija. We are actually quite happy that this, now I would say, quite big company came out of the project, because 5 new employees is really amazing. It's a year and a half or 2 years now. 2 years now. 2 years now. So that's really good. To continue with the program, I would like to now invite one of our host institution. So I would like to invite Mr. Ante Vidovic from Churin Nautica. They hosted some of the nets from other countries in Croatia, so he will give a short presentation about their experience. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Ne sve mi zda vi ste. Aha, to je PDF tu, je. Treće. Space je dovoljno. Aha, ide to. Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Ante Vidovic. I'm a civil engineer. And I'm here on behalf of our little big company, Churin Nautica. My boss is Mr. Alen Churin. Maybe some of you here met the guy on the event on the Cyprus few weeks ago. So our company is mainly in the field of energy efficiency. Name of the company is maybe not directly, it's not that you can't say, aha, this company is working in energy efficiency, because at first when company was created, it was doing some other, was in some other fields, but time passed, and my boss, Mr. Allen, is electrical engineer, so we switched on energy efficiency, yeah. So company is placed on the Croatian island of Hvar, and we are registered on Hvar, and Mr. Allen is from Hvar, but we are doing work through whole Croatia, but mainly in Dalmatia. Yeah. It's a south part of the Croatia. Yeah. So company is from Stari Grad, that is the oldest town in the island of Hvar, and it was, I'm actually not from Hvar, so I'm from mainland, and so I don't know so much history, but it's very old. 2,400 years ago, Greeks came and they created the first installment. So it's mainly touristic small town, and it's like you can see. Yeah, it's you can find lots of historic heritage there from many historical periods, from old Greeks, even from Romans, and yeah, and even from newer history. Yeah, our little company. We hosted candidates from the YENESIS project. candidates were Ms. Kedi Vali, she's here, and Rauno, yeah? They are both from Estonia, from a beautiful island of Sarajevo. Yeah, it's better for me, I'm sorry for broken English, so it's better for me just to read energy efficiency, energy certification of buildings. It's our core of our business. Engineering in the field of electrical engineering and mechanical engineering and solar power plants are the main activities of the company. And the company provides engineering services not only in Split, Dalmatia County, but throughout Croatia. Yeah, core of the business is creating this document that we call energy certificate of the buildings. That document, people create that document, professionals create that document for the people when they are selling the buildings or for new buildings or when citizens want to put application for state funds to make their homes more energy efficient. Probably most of the European countries, I presume, state government through different funds are funding energy efficiency for citizens of their country. Yeah. So, conclusion. Project participants got acquainted with the company and its activities. Currently, the activity of drafting energy renovation projects and energy certificates in Croatia is at the top of the quality of similar activities in the European Union, like I said. The candidates worked during the implementation of the tender for energy renovation of family houses so that most of the energy audits were performed on these facilities. Yes, while Kadi was in Croatia, it was just few weeks before Nation Fund, how you say, started with public fund for energy efficient projects on the citizens' houses. Yeah. Part of the work of the candidates worked on the inspections of the new farm buildings, fruit processing and the production of natural fruit juices. Yes, this job wasn't connected with this public call that I mentioned. It was just a new house, so energy certificate was needed for this kind of building in the area of Neretva River Delta. Towns Metković and Opuzen. Energy audits were performed in the region of Dalmatia between Zadar and the northwest and Dubrovnik in the southeast. Like I said, Dalmatia is part of the country that we work. During the field work, the candidates got acquainted with Dalmatian cities, life in them, and historical and cultural sites. Yeah, we visit many different little cities in Dalmatia. Kadi was in great part of the year. She visited us in September 2001, and it's still summer in Croatia, and it's still hectic and nice weather. And so we visit small towns like Rogoznica, Primošten. I visit you. I can recommend you to visit those little cities in Dalmatia and city of Imotski, lakes there. Yeah, it's very beautiful nature and a rich historical heritage. During their stay, the candidates were on the island of Hvar. Yes, of course, we visited finally islands here, some islands, of course. During their stay, the candidates were on the island of Hvar and the city of Split and got acquainted with the way of life on the local population and participated in numerous sporting and cultural events. The stay of the candidate created friendly ties and opened opportunities for business cooperation between the islands of Hvar in Croatia and the island islands of Saaremaa and Himu in Estonia. Maybe, you never know, you know. In the future, we're gonna send on Saaremaa olive oil, and they send great gin from Saaremaa to our island. Yeah, it's sweet and short. I hope. Sorry for broken English, and thank you. Okay. Some questions, please. No. Yeah, we sometimes, a colleague was mentioning, of course, photonaponic plants, and in our document, energy certificate, when people want to try to get subsidies, it's good, from the state, we put one of the measures, those photonaponic, of course, photonaponic photovoltaic, sorry. Plants, and yeah, some people want that, how you say, that plant on the roof, yes, of their home. It's very popular. It's gradually becoming more popular in the time. In the future, it's going to be much more popular. Yeah, we see people like that and want to put that on their roof. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Okay, and now we will go on the next steps, as we call them, and talk about a little bit different topics, maybe from different perspectives. So I would like to invite Ms. Tuve M. Gustad from the Norwegian Labor and Welfare Administration. She will give a speech about the Norwegian paradigm of working with the nets. Okay, so floor is yours.
So thank you very much for being invited to say some few words from my perspective as a stakeholder in the project. I come from the Norwegian Welfare and Administration called DAV, which is similar to the Public Employment Service in your own country. So I work in the regional office, the regional administration. I work on the strategic level. I work together with my colleagues. I work with job seekers, and I work with employers. So I'm also a EURES advisor working in the European Network for Employment Service, working with mobility, working with information to employers, to job seekers and stakeholders regarding recruitment. So it's very relevant to the project that I'm part of now. I'm going to talk a little bit about and pick up the subject from yesterday regarding soft skills. So I'm not going to introduce you to the whole Norwegian system of bureaucracy for the employment service. I'm just going to focus on a small little example. That has to do with inclusion into the Norwegian labor market. And in order to achieve inclusion, it's a close cooperation with the employers. And then in Norway, it's a small country, many small communities, rural areas, where it's difficult to get hold of labor sometimes. Many people in Norway like to live in the bigger cities, and in rural areas it can be complicated sometimes to recruit. So you need to be thinking in a different way, to thinking about how can you include the people who are outside the labor market into the jobs that the employers are looking for. So the key to success is, as I mentioned here, cooperation with employer, with NAV, the Public Employment Service, and the candidate. That's the key element. Every year, even though more often too, we have surveys among the employers. What is the situation on the labor market? What are you requiring? What are your needs now and next year and the coming years? And in this example, it's increased demand for IT competence. This is not the only area where it's difficult and hard to get labor, but in this example, IT competence is hard to get, especially in the rural areas where it's a lack of competence, lack of candidates with that knowledge. And every year we have these surveys to find out what is it like in different areas of Norway. So it's a lack of competence. The employers need people to come and work for them. And we have many people, what we say, outside the labor market, their needs, where they haven't maybe completed their upper secondary school, high school. In this context, they are gamers. And gamers, they are in every country. And we try to identify who they are, identify their competence, because there are a lot of IT competence that the employers might need. But how can we connect this? That's the task. And for us who's working in the public employment service, how to find these people, often young people, how can we get in contact with them? And not at least how to help the gamers acknowledge the skills and the competence they have, and for that to be useful for the employers. That's the idea behind this little example. I was mentioning soft skills, and many parents that think that the young adults are gaming. They're just wasting their time, sitting in their little rooms, playing, not talking so much. They don't know exactly what they're doing. So I think many people, they don't know the skills that these people possess. So this is just some few examples, because when you're into the gaming world, you have to cooperate. You have to work in teams. You have to communicate. You have to manage your team. You have to have a strategy. You have to negotiate. Have to make coding to enable this system to function. And you have to think economy to manage the project. You need technical skills, and you have to be very creative to find new solutions. And if you list them up like this, you see these are skills that employers are looking for. It's if you read an ad, employers looking for people. Some of these elements are listed of the qualifications that they're looking for. And how to identify these skills with the gamers, it's a challenge. But they have a lot of these skills that are useful for the employers, and what are often referred to as soft skills. You don't find them on the CV, like as part of your education, but you get them from the experience you have, for instance, with gaming. You find these soft skills if you are involved in voluntary work, in other type of activities that you do on your spare time. Then you can identify other soft skills. So this is just an example from the gaming sector. So how can we make use of this? How to find the candidates, often unemployed with digital skills, and to match it with the inquiries from the employers. And that's why it's a project called Digital Talents. It's a cooperation with the Public Employment Service and the County Council of Møre and Romsdal, and the candidates, and not at least the employers. It started up as a project with giving gamers education based on the university in Stockholm, online training activities they could do. It's not just the training with the university, it's also contact directly with employers, because it turned out that the employers like to train these people themselves. They weren't dependent on that they had education from a university or training. The companies like to train the people themselves, as long as they had the interest and the ability as described, like the social soft skills. So this is part of the project. We started up some years ago with Digital Talents. After doing these checkups, after identifying the candidates, and the candidates were not so easy to get, easy to find, because they were not so very social. Many of them they were gaming, not very social. Maybe they had psychological barriers. They had anxiety for being around people. They had maybe problems in the autism spectrum, like diagnosis. And, but they had this knowledge, they had this interest. And when this was linked to their interest and the way they could cope the situation, like their interest, and then they managed the situation, that was the key to success, linked with the demand from the employers. So this is just a short little description, but I guess you got the idea that you don't use the traditional methods of recruitment. You have more individual approach to the candidates, individual contact with employers, and then you have people trained in the public employment service to see the potential of the candidates and to get in touch, build up relations. That's the key to the success. Just an example of a skills translator, it's called. It's, you know, maybe the Manpower, the recruitment agency. They started up some years ago too with the same focus to identify these candidates. And then they made this skills translator like a key where you have, if you're playing different games, you gain different competence. And if you log this into this skills translator, log into what kind of experience, how many years, what role did you have, etc., then it comes out a key to what experience have you gained through that game, through other games. So it's easier to translate it and for the employer to understand. For instance, if you want to write your CV, then it's easier to write something relevant to the employer, like this example is showing that because of the experience with Fortnite, the person can write some concrete details which is interesting for the employer to know. So this is just an example of outcome of what you put in is what you can translate it into for the employer. So this is, I'm sure if you had more time, I could explain more, you would have more questions, but I think you get the idea of what you can do with little resources to be interested and to dig into this world of talents that you're not aware of, that have social and soft skills that could be interesting for the employers. Because all these people in the project, they were outside work, outside education, kind of hidden for the society, so to speak. And it's a resource that we need to make use of to have a sustainable society for the future, because we need all the talents, all the people that can do a piece of work. So this is part of the way of thinking to sort of encourage that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for this really interesting presentation, and I have to say like a different perspective and a view on the gaming society maybe for us, because we kind of don't see that as you mentioned, the skills that they possess then they develop during the gaming. We have come to the last presentation of the day, so I would like to invite Savas Vlahos, the Director of Energy, Cyprus Energy Agency, to give us a short presentation on the continuation of the YENESIS project. So, Savas, the floor is yours.
So, hello again. This is going to be the last one. What a feeling, huh? Standing in front of you, presenting the last presentation of the final event. But it's good to know that it's going not to be the final, as we do have some plans for you, and that plans that we made all together. And I will tell more about it, about Genesis 2, and what is into the continuation of this project. Just to remind you that in Greek language, Genesis means to give birth to something. So now we are going to discuss about the second birth of the same project, which is going to be, again, focused on the needs, the youth which are looking for employment in our islands, but also as our needs need to do, we have adapted our approach. We listen to the new challenges, and we are now introducing new elements to our approach. So especially the last part of the journey of Genesis 1 was amazing, because we had a gap of 2 years dealing with challenges with COVID-19 that created a mess to the whole initial approach and initial idea. But yeah, imagine that in the last 4 or 5 months, we traveled together so many times. We met finally all the needs from all the countries, and we did at the same time placements, apprenticeships, mentoring, also engaging the stakeholders and drafting some policy recommendations. So actually, this is now the last part of our activities in Genesis 1, the capitalization event, that we aim with what we have discussed today, and also carrying out the previous experience to share with our stakeholders and our policymakers our recommendations. And actually, our initial goals is the long-lasting impact for our needs with sustainable employment opportunities and green jobs, but also startups in the islands, is supposed to end in July 31st. And now, Genesis 2 is coming into force. Our emphasis now is mainly to an earlier intervention to the target group, so we can prevent young people of becoming NEETs. We will introduce new thematic focus, enhanced research, so we can compare the previous conditions of employment with nowadays, having in mind the COVID-19 situation, but also the climate change effects. More trainings, more beneficiaries, emphasis to students and to important stakeholders like the career advisors and the employers. So the main goal of the Genesis 2 is to impact stakeholders that are peripheral to the main target group, as well as expand the material and research of Genesis 1 in order to meet the new needs of young professionals in islands. So the research phase has the same approach as in Genesis 1. It'll start right after July, and it's going to be focused on COVID-19 relation between climate change and impacts of green jobs in islands. And then, not only on that, the research will focus to more thematic focuses. Before it was energy efficiency, renewables, mobility, and tourism. Now it's climate adaptation, because are very important, the impacts of climate change in our island ecosystems, and we need to deal with it. And it affects employment, and also circular economy. Thanks to all the partners and all the contributions during the drafting of the proposal, we managed to pick up the missing elements of our Genesis project, and now we have more thematics to deal with. Also, sustainable food systems, sustainable water management, and of course, as Tuva mentioned, the importance of soft skills. So we're preparing some additional trainings to the beneficiaries. We're supposed to select 25 young people in every location and give them another round of trainings to receive knowledge on these new thematic areas, but also give them access to the e-learning platform so they can receive the previous trainings as our current managed to receive. We'll have the trainings, as said, e-learning courses, and student workshops. So for the student workshops, we'll utilize the experience of our young people, the first beneficiaries of the program, that can be the mentors for the next participants and the next generations. Would like to work with career advisors, teachers, and have workshops with them, so we can explain all the outputs of YENESIS 1 and the importance of their engagement into the whole advisoring process of employment for students. And also to engage employers. Why do they need to have somebody with skills related to green jobs? Why do they need to hire people with what we are teaching to our needs? So we need to ensure more placements for future employment in this occupation. So the employers and the employers associations are very important stakeholders. And yeah, all this should be done in a period of 1.5 years. It's enough time, and thanks to the donor states and the EA Norway grants, we have secured additional resources to make this happen. I do believe in this cooperation. Thanks to all of you, we are standing here being successful and feeling fulfilled. Thanks also to my colleague Mirto, that the both of us took care of you, not the participants all this time. And 1 year ago, when we were sitting together, not actually together, some of us, we were in Estonia for our first hybrid meeting during the pandemic time. So some of us, we were in Estonia, some of us online, and it was the time that we were drafting the proposal for YENESIS 2. And I said to you that if we're successful, the first thing that we have to do is to party. So this time came, so the next meeting will be in Canary Islands, and the responsibility for the party and all the organization, it goes to my good friend Gonzalo and Salvador. We miss you, and you are responsible to kick off the beginning of YENESIS 2. Thank you very much. Hvala, Haristo. It was a pleasure working with you all this time.
Thank you, Savas, and it was really a pleasure from our side, I think, also to work with you and have you as a project coordinator, both you and Mirto, of course. We have come to the very end of today's program, but before I send you to lunch, I think we have to do 1 or 2 more things, so I would just like to invite Professor Krajic to say a few words from our side as the host of these 2 days.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming to Zagreb. I hope that you could feel that Zagreb is a vibrating city, not due to earthquakes that we had here, but because of the positive and inspiring people that are living here. But also because of these inspiring and positive guests, and because of your energy that you brought here, Zagreb was in these 2 days more and nicer an environment. Thank you all for coming and being so great participants. You shared lots of your ideas here, and it was great to cooperate with you in these 3.5 years, and it will be great to cooperate with you in the future. For us, the hosting here was an easy job. Why? Because we have a great SDEVES team here. So we have Marko and Duško here, we have Zvjezdana and Andrea, and also Nikola, who is coordinating activities of YENESIS, but by the end of the project, he said, I have a YENESIS at home. So there is Nikola got the new son, and then he said, okay, I need to manage this both YENESIS, and hopefully in the future there will be more YENESIS of the companies, young companies that will be, let's say, started by the needs. and I'm looking forward to visit all of places if I will be capable, but I'm also looking forward to see you in the future. You are welcome to come to Zagreb anytime. You are welcome to come and visit SDEVET's conferences, and as I said, I hope we will have more and better results in this 1.5 years. Thank you all for coming, and see you around. Thank you.
Thank you, Goran, and I would just like to say that it was a pleasure working with you also in the last 3.5 years, and it was a pleasure having you here for these 2 days. And now, before the lunch, can we just do one thing, and that's take a group photo in front here, because it's a thing that we like to do, you know, in the end of the events. Okay, thank you once again. Mark, možeš staviti samo ono u pozadinu sliku?